sir, and board. My name is Joe Hedges. I'm the new Chief Operating Officer for the High-Speed Rail Authority. So
I'm sorry, I should have introduced you as such. I guess we introduced you at the last meeting, and I just assumed that. So, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me start just basically with the name, CP1, Construction Package Number 1. Excluded because this original task was not included in TPZ's original proposal. And with regards to third-party relocations, it's for AT&T and PG&E. As you remember, back in December of 2016, Change Order 48 included this task into TPZ's tasking and gave them a modification of approximately $158 million. Now, the work is ongoing. There's critical path work. And this $40 million is a bridge, basically, from FY17 to FY18 as to allow that work to continue and not to impede critical path and to incur delay costs. So what I'm asking for right now is $40 million, your authorization of $40 million in FY 2017. Now here's what's new. Okay. I want to stress that now when we come before the board, I want to give you the EAC, the estimate at completion, which is the budget, and the ETC, the estimate to complete the remaining of that money. So the EAC for this amount is $396 million, which is fully accounted for in the new baseline budget, with an ETC, an estimate to complete, of approximately $169. That 40 is included in the estimate to complete. So you have full disclosure with regards to the total line item cost and the amount required to complete this.
Questions for Mr. Hedges? Director Shane.
Thank you. I have two questions. Saying that this is going to be a shift of $40 million from fiscal 2017-18 for CP1 DB contract. How does that impact the CP1 DB contract, that shift?
What it does is
it
it doesn't upset anything. This is a relocation of unallocated funds from which would be construction package number 5 that we're going to use. So we're going to borrow from construction package number 5, allowing basically for $48 million additional funds that will allow the critical path work to continue. Right now, with regards to the critical path for CP1 right now, is in the relocation of predominantly PG&E utilities in the Fresno area.
I have a follow-up, if I may. Will PG&E and AT&T be upgrading? Are we just reallocating what's there, or will they be upgrading? And if so, are they paying for that?
It's predominantly moving utilities out of the right-of-way with regards to power lines and communication lines.
I understand that, but will they be
using
this opportunity to upgrade?
There's no betterments here. The betterments are responsibility of those utilities.
Well, I understand that.
This is to restore back to what they
have. Are they going to use the opportunity to do any upgrade?
I'm not sure, ma'am. I can ask Terry.
I'd like to know that. Don't need to tell me this minute, but as a follow-up.
Well,
thank you.
We'll reply back.
Thank you.
Director Rossi.
Your microphone. I'm sorry. It is on. I just wanted to follow up. What I understood you to say for Lynn's question was, in effect, correct me if I'm wrong. Because it's on. It does. I can read. You got it. I may not be able to do much else, but I can read. I don't move my lips. I'm sorry. Do you want me to? Let's try this.
You're getting amplified now. I took that one.
I can just come closer.
I can come closer. Can you hear?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. I apologize. When Lynn asked her first question, in your opening remarks, if I understood you correctly, what you said was that in the new baselining, there is a number, 300 and whatever it is, which will cover this.
Yes, sir. It's $169 million,
Right.
which will restore the fund, the 40 back to where they were borrowed.
Which is
out of
where you're going to borrow,
CP5.
and that's what I wanted to clarify,
Yes, sir.
because when you further answered her question, you said you were borrowing it from 5. You're actually taking the funds from 5, but it is in the new baseline, which hasn't been approved until this business plan is approved.
That'll be the 2018. That's why I
Right.
cover bridge strategy
Right.
here.
So it is covered. It is, as you said, your cost to complete is X, whatever that number was. This is all part of that and will be part of that approval process. But until that time, you're moving funds from 5 to get this done, not to impede critical path. Is that, I understand that correctly?
That's an absolute correct statement, sir.
Be the first time in a long time. For me, not you. And the second question I have is, have you done all the risk analysis on this piece that we're now approving?
There's no dispute here. This is for basically to continue on the work. I'm not sure exactly what
I'm talking about the
question
risk
is.
analysis of this amount is the right amount. It's not,
I'm confident that the staff has done their job to the EAC of 396. As we've closed, we have a definite visibility to the end right now. So hopefully there's no more increments. And that's what we're trying to manage right now to that budget.
like Director Shank, whenever you find that detail out, I'd like to understand that. If that's
Absolutely,
okay.
sir. We'll reply back.
Thank you.
Help me out here, Joe, a little bit. So the estimate at completion is the total cost for these third-party movements?
Total cost for all of the third-party excluded relocations,
In
sir.
CP1.
Yes, sir.
And so the amount that's left is 169.
Approximately, sir.
Okay. I got that. That's good. The question I really have is, where did the 69 million come from, the original estimate that the third-party utilities were going to actually?
Sir, I don't know. I wasn't here.
Okay. Good enough.
I'm assuming that,
just wanted to
as in
raise
all
it.
of the relocations of the utilities, that the scope was significantly underestimated.
Yeah, I'd say so. But thank you for pulling it together and clarifying it. Thanks.
One final question.
Yes, Director
Joe,
Camacho.
is the work being done by the utilities, or are we doing that now?
The work is going to be done by the utilities, and they're a subcontractor, sir.
So we're going to be paying the utilities?
We're paying the utility. What ends up happening is
No.
we pay TPZ, who then has reached an agreement with the utilities, who then is paying the utilities. That's how this is working.
Hold on, I'm looking at our our Chief Counsel, Mr. Flins.
We will pay TPZ directly, yes, sir. It is part of modification 48 that
Well,
included this
Just
work.
to
Can I try
clarify,
to clarify,
yeah,
Mr.
why don't
Chairman?
you? I was about to, but I think you're probably in a better position to clarify.
As I understand it, Tom, I'll look to you as well, but I believe that we pay the contractor. They use subcontractors that are approved by the utility to do the work on these assets.
That
But
is
the
correct.
subcontractor is paid
Uh,
through the,
It's part of the design build contract, TPZP's design build contract, and the portion that it's a part of is called provisional sums. Those provisional sums are used to relocate two excluded utility companies' utilities, AT&T and PG&E. And the way we use those provisional sums is we issue task orders. The contractor submits a draft task order with scope and budget in it, and then we approve those task orders and pay for that work and then oversee it as a time and material. The utility companies do oversee that as well, because the utilities are being relocated and they want to make sure it's done correctly, but it's not a direct payment to the utility companies. It's a payment to the design build contractor through
Right.
the provisional sums.
Yeah, I want that on the record because in the past I've recused myself on items having to do with utilities because of my past work at PG&E and pension. But as I understand it, no money now with this contract structure will flow through the hands of the utilities. it'll go to the Tuda-Perini-Zachary joint venture, and they'll hire subcontractors approved by the utilities, if I understand our CEO correctly. But we're not making payments to PG&E or AT&T.
Correct. That is correct. And it's not done through a contract between AT&T, PG&E, and the authority.
Right. Okay.
This is through the contract, the
So
design build contract.
privity of contract is with TPC. Director Shank had one.
Yeah, but the more I think about it, going back to my second question, I'm a great believer in trust but verify, and I really want to make sure that the utilities, through their approved subcontractors, are not using this as an opportunity to upgrade at our expense, that if there are changes in fiber optics or whatever they're doing, that is going to be at their expense.
We'll ensure that statute is strictly adhered to.
That's good. Mr. Flens, did you want to add anything?
There are agreements directly with the utility companies who are under the purview of the PUC. And we also have some statutes that prevent the betterment when there's a utility relocation, such as we're talking about here. There aren't any betterments, it's just a replacement. So we do have some mechanisms, contract mechanisms, some statutory mechanisms to make sure that this authority is not paying for any betterment to the utility company for these relocations.
Okay. Well, I like Ms. Shank's approach, not the least of which is to hear her quoting Ronald Reagan is always a good moment. Moved by Director Rossi.
Second.
Seconded by Director Camacho. Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hedges.
Director Schenk?
Yes.
Director Rossi?
Yes.
Director Curtin?
Yes.
Director Camacho?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Chair Richard?
Yes. Okay, that item is done. And the next item is consideration of amending the interagency agreement with Caltrans regarding legal services in support of right-of-way acquisition. Mr. Flens.
Good morning, Chairman Richard and board members. I'm Tom Falanza, Chief Counsel for the High-Speed Rail Authority. This agenda item is a request to augment the interagency agreement we have with Caltrans for legal services for the delivery of right-of-way, and it's to include the eminent domain process that we would go through for some of these parcels, as well as inverse condemnation services. This contract began in 2012, and it's now extending to June 30th, 2018. We're asking, the present value of the contract, which is an interagency agreement, is $12.4 million. We're asking to augment it by $15.5 million and add 3 years to the contract. We have been using the Caltrans Legal Services since 2012 to do this type of work. The rates that we receive from Caltrans are very good rates. Caltrans is very well qualified to do this type of legal services. To give you an idea of the great value we're getting is the rate that they're charging per hour is $122, which is significantly less than what we would pay in the private sector for similar services, by as much as 60%. We have also a number of parcels noted in the memo. There's 1,918 total parcels at this point in time. At the time of writing this memo, there were 607 parcels left for acquisition, and part of that acquisition process includes the need to go through these legal services to get us into the eminent domain process. We negotiate with property owners, of course, the entire duration of the property acquisition effort, all the way through trial. The reasons that the term is out a couple years to 2021 is because the eminent domain process would include eminent domain trials potentially, and we project that the completion of all the acquisition process could take us out that long because of court dates. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Flens? Director Shank.
Tom, this would include litigation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to really take a moment and say that the Caltrans lawyers don't get enough credit for what they do. In this area, there isn't any lawyer that I can think of that is better. You know, my days in the AG's office dealing with Caltrans lawyers, my days as secretary of BT&H, even Mr. Felenz came from Caltrans, and I'm sure Secretary Kelly would agree. We really get our money's worth out of these Caltrans lawyers, and so I'd be happy to make the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shank. I think that's very appropriate. And just before you do, I wanted to clarify, because you used the number of the 1,900 parcels, 1,918, 607 outstanding, because our previous item just related to construction package 1. In the write-up, it makes it clear that those numbers were for the entirety of the first construction segment, right? The 119 miles.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yes,
So
for
it's a lot of parcels.
CPs 1 through 4, yes, correct.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions at this point? Director Curtin.
Well, I'm always interested in bringing costs down. This is a minimal cost in terms of the overall cost that we just spoke about, for instance. And I know getting our right-of-way issues organized in a timely fashion is critical to saving costs overall. Are we, and I know it's been a problem in many respects in both CP1, CP2, and 3, are we getting our hands around delivering these right-of-ways in a timely fashion? Because, well, I have no concerns about the quality of the work. It's the timing of the work and the choosing of the particular right-of-ways. That's the real issue, and maybe we need more people doing it. Maybe there's another process. I don't know. I just want to know if we have this under control so that these right-of-ways will be delivered in a way that doesn't hold up the project delivery.
Sure.
So we made some fundamental change in our right-of-way group. We consolidated our dispersed right-of-ways groups into a single group. We are now using a concept of critical path, where we have analyzed all 3 of the CPs. We're attacking the third-party agreements and right-of-way that's on the critical path. And that's our focus. We're making good progress in achieving that. But what you're going to see as a result of that is substantial work in all 3 CPs being able to be advanced by this summer. So the idea right now is to focus right away and not just be concerned with gross numbers, but be concerned with effective numbers and to define what a critical parcel is. It's associated to something that is on critical path.
That's my answer. Thank you.
Very good. Director Rossi?
Here, Joe.
Joe?
Come, don't go far.
I think that's great what you just said. I think it's perfectly appropriate, and I agree with Danny. My only question to you is, and I know you are new, but that's what we were told numerous times before we were doing. So I just want to be sure, in fact, that as you move through your course down the path of checking everything that's getting done, that you are cognizant of the fact that we had map plots, critical paths, blue, green, and yellow parcels, all tiered to what was going to be built next, that in fact that is happening now in a real sense to get to the glide path you're talking about.
Sir, I don't care about blue, green. What I care about is critical path. Those parcels are on the critical path identified by the state and the contractor to go to work. So I'm not looking at sheer numbers. I'm looking at basically getting people to work and keeping them to work. I personally am down in the valley every other week with a huge contingency of headquarters staff to include chief counsel, chief engineer, head of rail. All right, we're down there to solve problems and to focus not just on the right-of-way, but on all the impediments that's keeping us from advancing the construction packages from moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Shank had asked to move this item after her, and I think we want to do that. Okay, it was Moved by Ms. Shank, seconded by Director, moved by Director Shank, seconded by Director Camacho. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Schenk?
Yes.
Director Rossi?
Yes.
Director Curtin?
Yes.
Director Camacho?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yeah.
Chair Richard?
Yes. Thank you.